In the cold, rushing waters of the wild, one predator rules with speed, intelligence, and teamwork. Meet the giant otter, a master hunter of cold waters. Welcome to connect with animal.
In the heart of the Amazon, a formidable predator reigns, a master of the cold waters.
Known as the river wolf, the giant river otter is the largest of its kind. With an insatiable appetite, an adult can consume up to 4 kilograms of fish a day.
Their bodies are built for aquatic life, streamlined for speed and agility.
But their strength lies not just in their physique, but in their complex social bonds.
Living in tight-knit family groups, they hunt, play, and defend their territory together.
Communication is key, with a vocabulary of 9 distinct calls to coordinate and warn. Each day begins with a patrol, reaffirming their dominance over these waters.
Their sensitive whiskers detect vibrations, locating prey hidden from sight.
As day turns to night, the family rests. But the hunt is never far from their minds.
The hunt begins not with a chase, but with observation. The lead otter assesses the currents.
They are strategists, communicating a plan before splitting up to cover more ground.
With unparalleled grace, they enter the hunting grounds, a world where they hold every advantage.
These whiskers are finely tuned instruments, detecting the faintest movement of hidden fish. Above the surface, lookouts keep watch, coordinating the hunt from a different vantage point.
The river is a labyrinth, but for the otter, it is a familiar map of opportunity.
Teamwork is the foundation of their hunting prowess. They move as one, a single predatory unit.
Large webbed feet provide powerful propulsion, turning the otter into an aquatic missile.
The target is spotted, a school of piranhas, a dangerous but rewarding prize.
The trap is set. The otters begin to close the net, a coordinated dance of death. For the piranhas, the world shrinks. Panic begins to ripple through the school.
The first strike is designed to cause chaos, to break the school's defensive formation.
With lightning reflexes and powerful jaws, the capture is precise and lethal.
The family attacks as one, overwhelming the prey with sheer numbers and relentless pressure.
In this moment, there is only the hunter and the hunted. Instinct takes over. They use their environment and their own bodies as tools to manipulate their prey.
Escape is futile. The otters have sealed every exit. The hunt is reaching its climax. The hunt is also a classroom. Skills are passed down through generations.
Success. The coordinated effort yields a bounty for the entire family.
Now, it is time to feast and reaffirm the bonds that make them masters of this domain.
They bring their catch to a communal dining spot, a safe place to enjoy the spoils.
Eating is a noisy, social affair. The sounds of success echo across the river.
Even during meals, the young practice skills they will need as adults: competition and play.
Keeping their fur immaculate is vital. A clean coat is a warm, waterproof coat. With their hunger satisfied, the family enters a state of rest, conserving energy for the next challenge.
But even in sleep, the instincts of a predator are never far from the surface.
Play is not just for fun, it is crucial for developing the coordination and dexterity needed for survival.
These games reinforce social hierarchies and strengthen the familial bonds that are their greatest asset.
In this peaceful interlude, the family recharges. But peace in the Amazon is often fleeting.
A change in the wind, a distant sound. Danger has arrived on the riverbank. The jaguar, the jungle's supreme land predator and a mortal enemy of the giant river otter. The warning is sounded. The peaceful scene shatters. The otters instantly switch from rest to defense. Their strategy is simple: protect the young and present a united, formidable front. A single otter is no match for a jaguar, but a family is another matter entirely. They engage in a tactic called mobbing, a coordinated harassment designed to drive a predator away. The jaguar is powerful, but it is also cautious. It weighs the risk of injury against the potential meal.
Their collective courage is their greatest weapon. They are a single entity with many bodies.
Victory. The river wolves have defended their family and their territory against a much larger foe. The adrenaline fades, replaced by the reassurance of their collective strength and survival. They retreat to the water, their true sanctuary, their home court, where few can challenge them.
Life on the river quickly returns to its rhythm. The confrontation is already a memory.
As apex predators, their presence is a sign of a healthy, balanced river ecosystem. They return to the den, a fortress of earth and roots, safe from the dangers of the night.
Here, in the darkness, the family bond is at its strongest. They are safe.
The jungle never truly sleeps, but for now, the river wolves are at peace.
Their survival is inextricably linked to the health of this vast wilderness, a wilderness under constant threat. Their survival is inextricably linked to the health of this vast wilderness, a wilderness under constant threat.
The future of their species rests on the survival of each new generation.
They are a testament to resilience, a symbol of the wild spirit of the Amazon.
As long as the rivers flow clean and the family stays together, the river wolf will endure. A master predator, a devoted family member, the indomitable spirit of the Amazon's cold waters.